Oh, okay. We're all gonna look that way.
Oh,
A lot of you. All right.
Thank you, Karen. Hey guys, can I get one too?
yeah. My knee. Okay, yeah. I had gym day yesterday, man.
Oh, Tony's gonna paper.
Okay, everybody look for smile on three. One, two, three. Thank you.
Stop looking at my
Oh, he's here. Did you see that look on his face already? Everything in my power. Everything in my power. Fighting ourselves to not bring a can of dry shampoo for me.
Oh, that's Tony.
How about making it sound like
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
How are you?
Yeah.
Hello, Tony. How you doing?
It was her. She's like probably one of the last parts.
I got this here. You could just do like a little like uniform. No, she was like, I was trying to and I was like, okay, you know, look at it. We all ended up going to her house later that day and she was going to curl her hair.
Is your mom coming?
The 3-6 was trying to make that happen.
It was just a woman that looked like your mom.
I did try to. Yeah. I mean, my face is fully red. And it's fine. Okay. I'm room for happy people. So happy. I like rock. Like tattoos. I love music. So the song is that this guy is sitting on it, and somebody wants to.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the July 25th, 2024 executive session of the Clarksville City Council. Let's get into our agenda. The first item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, will you please read the consent agenda?
All items in this portion of the agenda are considered to be routine and non-controversial by the council and may be approved by one motion. However, a member of the council may request that an item be removed for separate consideration under the appropriate committee report. Ordinance 107/2023-24, second reading. An ordinance authorizing the donation of property located at 912 Roman Street to Habitat for Humanity for common development. Ordinance 109/2023-24, second reading. Amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville. Application of bypass storage for zone change on the parcel fronting on the north frontage of Rossview Road, 1,000 plus or minus feet west of the Rossview Road and Powell Road intersection, from C4 Highway Interchange District to C5 Highway and Arterial Commercial District. Ordinance 111/2023-24, second reading. Amending the zoning ordinance and map of the city of Clarksville. Application of AJ Saunders Jr. for zone change on 3 parcels fronting on the north and south frontages of Bogard Lane, 165 plus or minus feet west of the North 2nd Street and Bogard Lane intersection, from R4 Multiple Family Residential District and C2 General Commercial District to CBD Central Business District. Ordinance 112/2023-24, second reading. An ordinance authorizing the mayor or his designee to purchase property for the public purpose of the Clarksville Gas and Water Ringgold Creek Sewer Lift Station. Ordinance 113/2023-24, second reading. An ordinance accepting the donation of certain real property from Aspire Clarksville to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of greenway development approaching Ashland City Road. Resolution 13/2024-25, a resolution approving appointments to the Act Authority Board, Board of Zoning Appeals, and the Power Board, and the adoption of minutes from June 20th, June 25th, and July 2nd.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any member wish to be recognized on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we're ready for item 2, the Ethics Commission appointment. That resolution 12/2024-25 2024-25. Pursuant to city code, applicants and nominees to the city's ethics commission are required to fill out a questionnaire and then present themselves at the regular session that they'll be voted on, introduce themselves to the council, and to answer questions from the council prior to a vote. You have the application of Marty Jewell, who is the nominee, and she will be here next Thursday evening at 6 o'clock to introduce herself to you if you don't know her and answer your questions. Any comment or question regarding this resolution? All right, seeing none, we're ready for the Finance Committee report. Chairperson Streetman, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 59, 2023-24, a resolution repealing Resolution 28-1980-21 and replacing it, adopting policies and procedures for right-of-way abandonment in the city of Clarksville. The Finance Committee did recommend approval on this. This is just memorializing the process and procedures that we have been following. It's just an update to the actual code. Mr. Tyndall is here if necessary.
Thank you. Councilperson Reynolds, you recognize.
I didn't see any major changes. Did I miss anything?
And I think that it's just thank you, sir. It's just memorializing the process that we've been following.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment or question regarding this resolution? Chairperson Street.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 04-2024-25, a resolution authorizing an interlocal agreement between the city of Clarksville, Tennessee, and Bi-County Solid Waste Management for acceptance of biosolids from the wastewater treatment plant. Both the Finance and the Gas and Water Committees voted in favor of approval. And Mayor, with your permission, I'd like to ask Mr. Riggins to come up here just to discuss this.
Certainly, Mr. Riggins, if you don't mind.
Good afternoon, Mayor, if you don't mind, I think it'd be good to try to give some background to where we're at. At least I do know you haven't been with us the whole time. So prior to the 2010 flood, the treatment plant, the sewer treatment plant, we produced sludge that to a treatment level that could be land applied. At that time, we donated to farmers, had it hauled out to them, loaned them basically manure spreaders to spread that along the farm. After the 2010 flood, as you know, we spent $130 million to get the sewer system back to where it presently is. That level of treatment was not included at that time. I can only guess that it came to an amount beyond what they were, administration was willing to spend at the time. And so we had to figure something out. The only other option, viable option at that time seemed to be to haul it to the landfill. You may remember at that time, the landfill was accepting garbage from other cities, places like that. And it was really advantageous to both parties. We could get rid of our sludge. They could work that into all that garbage to fill in voids. Over time, as things changed at the landfill, there are circumstances that they are not accepting as much garbage from other places as they used to. Now it's more of a hindrance than it is anything. In us, as far as industry standards, the sludge that we output from the sewer plant is a dry product, but to everyone outside of our industry, it's a wet product. It's mushy. It does not work well. You can't push it around. And the odor, as you can imagine, coming down the road with that sludge, anytime it gets wet again through rain or any other measures, it's pretty bad. So we worked out in working with Bi-County and seeing the need to do something else for our community. We put out an RFP for contractors or engineering firms, whoever it may be, to tell us what are our options for getting rid of the sludge. We had one responded, and the responded solution was $15 million. And I apologize, I can't remember if it was for 3 years or 5 years, but the solution was to haul it somewhere else and dump it. So I was very concerned and was not willing to spend $15 million, and then 3 to 5 years later, I had no solution, nothing to show for what we've done. So at that time, we spoke to the respondent, who talked to us about some thermal dryers, maybe a drop-in unit that looked to be a comparable amount of money. So we got back with our consulting engineer and had them look at that and start designing that. The drop-in would not work for us, just the way the volume of the waste that we have, and then also just the way our plant works, the way it's set up. We said, well, just show us what will work and then bring us back a proposal. They did so. We did ensure through that proposal that if we're going to spend this amount of money, I wanted to see the ultimate riddance of sludge, what that looks like. That is, in totality of waste elimination, it's right now in the industry, it's incineration. We do not have an incineration plant or whatever that may be anywhere close to us, but we did ensure that these dryers are somewhere in that line between where we are now and that ultimate goal, where if that does happen, when that does happen in the future, somewhere, we want to, at any time, with this money been a waste or be out at any time. Of course, we will have to do maintenance, upgrades, things like that throughout time, but this would fit. It's money well spent is what we want to ensure. As you are well aware of this, this has turned into a $53 million project. Along with that, we have an existing MOU or interlocal agreement with County that was for 3 years for $29 a ton. We reached that amount by using the regular tonnage tipping fee, which was around 27, something like that, I believe, and then added some money for chemicals to treat that over. We saw that the project was estimated to take 3 years. The reason that we haven't completed this in 3 years, you remember we received a $15 million grant. To qualify and get that grant, we had to delay this project because they would not award it if a project was under construction. So we thought it was worth the money to wait a little while and gain $15 million, no strings attached. So we did that. We made County aware the whole time, and so they knew that we were going to come with this with a revised, updated agreement at the end of the 3 years. The 3 years ends sometime around I believe the 12th of August. So this is just in time to do that. The only differences in this that you will see are the term is 1 year instead of 3, because we're on schedule to have the thermal dryers completed April of next year. At that time, per the agreement, we'll go back to them and negotiate a separate agreement for emergency purposes. Our plans and/or emergency riddance of that, hauling that to the dump. Because our plans now are once we have the first initial product from these dryers coming out, which will be a much drier product and will be up to a 75% reduction in product coming out. We plan to have that tested for all sorts of things, but especially PFAS. We know that is the main concern as far as EPA in our community, to see if we can go back to land applying this. I can tell you if that is an option. We have farmers who are excited and waiting for this fertilizer, basically, because as you know, over the last couple of years, fertilizer has quadrupled in price. But we will do that testing and see, just in case. I do think there will come a time that we will, sometime in the unforeseeable future, we will not be allowed to land apply. Things keep going the way they are. We want to have the landfill as a backup. And they understand that. I spoke with them yesterday. The only other difference is instead of $29 a ton, you will see it's $30 a ton, and that's for just the increased fee or increased price of those chemicals to treat that over. It winds up about a 4% increase, which based on last year's numbers is less than $30,000 a year. So the last thing I want to say is I went to speak with the County Board yesterday, and they unanimously approved the interlocal agreement. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Councilperson Street, and you have the floor.
I don't have any questions myself. I appreciate we don't have to talk about sludge very often.
Hang on, we got a question, Mr. Riggins. Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Hey, thanks, Mr. Riggins. I appreciate this. I would like to we talked about it in the committee meeting, but I'd like to say publicly that I would probably like to sit down with you just to ensure the environmental concerns regarding the sludge. I know that you talk about PFAS, but I do believe, having talked to other members of the community, that there are other concerns other than just PFAS, and just to make sure that when you test it, that we have a complete test and not just a narrow one.
Yes, when we were land applying sludge before, it is a complete test. We will pay a third-party laboratory to completely test that. When we were land applying the sludge before, I know because I was the one at the time to get some of these to the farmers. That showed a complete breakdown of everything, and we will work with TDEC, the EPA, to ensure we're not doing anything outside the law or any regulations. You get that?
But it's also a good opportunity to educate our community of what should be done.
I agree 100%. Yes, ma'am.
Let the church say amen. All right, anybody else have a question for Mr. Riggins? Thank you, sir. Thank you, Chairperson Street.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 07-2024. Nope, sorry, I apologize. Resolution 06-2024-25, a resolution declaring the intent of the city of Clarksville to reimburse itself in a not to exceed amount of $26,446,462 for certain project expenditures with the proceeds of general obligation bonds, notes, or other debt obligations to be issued by the city. The Finance Committee recommended approval, and I'd like to ask if possible, Ms. Mata, can you come up?
Ms. Mata is
I'm
not in her
here.
usual chair.
That really threw me off. And Mayor, just so I
You're
can
recognized.
save myself on the next few, can she just go ahead and stay up here, because I know she's gonna want to go.
Sorry about my seat. So this is a routine resolution. It's part of our budget process. You approved capital projects in FY25 budget. And this is really just so that if we start spending funds on those capital projects that you approved in the budget, then later down the road, if we issue debt to pay for those, we have the ability to reimburse ourselves. The amount is less than what you approved in the budget. You approved $83 million for the capital projects, and we're only requesting reimbursement for 26 because the Performing Arts Center is removed from our debt. So therefore, we're not asking for reimbursement in that because that's going to be reimbursed by the Act Authority. Do you have any questions?
Chairperson Street, you have the floor. Anything else?
No, sir, I don't have any questions.
Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. So you said that the debt for the Performing Arts Center has been removed from our debt services?
So it's not debt yet, but we're not going to even ask for reimbursement because the city is not going to be on the hook at all for the debt of building a Performing Arts Center.
Who's handling that debt?
That is going to go, I can't remember the month now, but you all approved creating an Act Authority, an Arts, Culture, and Tourism Authority. It's a Tourist Development Authority.
And who treasurer come out?
I'm sorry?
Who's treasurer? What money? What?
So they're going to, okay, so I'm handling all the books for them until they're completely up and running. So we'll be monitoring all of that. But the Act Authority, I just left an Act Authority board meeting. That's where the hotel motel tax is going to support that debt. So they will be issuing bonds at a later date to pay for the Performing Arts Center.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other comment or question? Chairperson Street, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, Resolution 07-2024-25, initial resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $57.5 million in aggregate principal amount of one or more series of federally tax exempt and or federally taxable general obligation bonds of the city of Clarksville, Tennessee. Finance Committee voted in favor of approval.
Ms. Madam?
So this resolution is mandated by state law. If we're going to go out to issue bonds or taxable bonds for any type of debt, we have to give public notice. This is public notice that we're looking at the market. It'll get published in the paper, and this would be, it's not new capital projects. These are all projects that were previously approved many years, over several years. And this is the time now where we've spent a lot of money on our capital projects. I think at the Finance Committee, I reported about $54 million was spent on capital projects this year. So we're requesting that we put the notice out here. The next resolution will be actually you all telling me yes, go find money. But this one is just the public notice piece of it.
Chairperson Straitman, any questions for Ms. Madam?
No, sir.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. Chairperson Straitman.
Resolution 08-2024-25, a resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed 57.5 million in aggregate principal amount of one or more series of federally tax exempt and or federally taxable general obligation bonds of the city of Clarksville, Tennessee, making provision for the issuance, sale, and payment of said bonds, establishing the terms thereof and the disposition of proceeds therefrom, and providing for the levy of taxes for the payment of debt service on the bonds. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval.
Ms. Matt.
So this one is actually giving us permission to work with our financial advisor and our bond counsel to look at the market and to actually issue go bonds and tax. So I'm going to answer for you why now, because we have spent that much money. When we issue these bonds, we would reimburse ourselves over $33 million a day that they would issue. The other $7 million, so I'm requesting it'll be $50 million for GO bonds, which are tax exempt bonds, and then $7 million for taxable bonds, which will pay for the purchase of the property for the Speedway property that we're getting ready to work on that. And I'll be issuing debt for both of those. There's a couple of reasons why we're looking now, and that's because the market is good for us at this point. We also have, there's a lot of laws around what you can reimburse and how long you're allowed to wait before you reimburse yourself. We have a couple of fire trucks that we purchased about a year and a half ago that are timing out. If I don't issue some debt to reimburse us for those trucks, I won't be able to use debt to reimburse. I would have to use general fund dollars instead to pay for those fire trucks. So there, and that's October, I think October 14th is when the time is up on those, and we max out on that law. So that's part of why now. The other part is there's a lot of risk with a general election, not local election, but presidential election. And we want to get out in the market prior to that because election risk is a real thing on the interest rates. And I'm being advised by the professionals who watch the market that there's not that many people go to the market right now. So it's probably a really good time to get out there and get the best competitive bids. And we're actually looking at a tentative schedule in the back of this is there. We're looking at issuing probably a $5 million premium, which means if I issue $50 million worth of debt and a $5 million premium, I'm only paying back $45 million. So it looks like a really great time. So I'm asking for your permission.
Thank you. Councilperson Straitman. Any other questions? All right. Thank you. Chairperson Straitman.
Ordinance 01-2024-25, first reading, an ordinance amending the operating budgets for fiscal year 2025 for governmental funds. Ordinance 106-2023-24, carry forward prior year appropriations and amend for newly identified items. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval.
Any comment or question regarding this ordinance? Chairperson Straitman.
Ordinance 02-2024-25, first reading, an ordinance amending the official code, part 2, title 1.5, human resources, chapter 15, miscellaneous, section 1.5-1501, holidays, to add a floating holiday in place of President's Day. The Finance Committee voted in favor of disapproval. And I will, with your permission, turn the floor over to the sponsor.
Yeah, we'll yield to the sponsor, which is Councilperson Holloman. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Last time with the swapping out the President's Day didn't work. I know it was suggested up here on the council floor that some people might consider it if it was a floating holiday, so that way people can do whatever holiday they want in exchange of the President's Day. And so that's pretty much what this does, is it gives the employees more options, whether they want to celebrate a religious holiday or just a cultural holiday. This gives them the option, just one floating holiday. And that's pretty much the gist of it.
Okay, questions, Councilperson Straitman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Mine's not as much of a question as that I did talk to the head of HR in regard to the effect this could have. And by doing this, what you're doing is President's Day is a federal holiday. So some of your departments aren't even going to be able to do anything because of the fact everything they work with would be federal agencies that would be off. Those people in those departments that chose to work that day to take the floating holiday another day would essentially just be there with nothing to do. It also, if the attempt of this is to allow them to be able to take the Good Friday off, as we previously discussed, in place of President's Day, there's still only a limited number of people that are able to take off that day because the city is open and operation on Good Friday. So it wouldn't allow for more people to be able to take off because as it stands, they can use a vacation day for that. And this could actually create quite a few problems. One thing would be if this were to go through, it would definitely need to be amended so that it did not take effect until January 2nd because of the fact that there are individuals within the city that did have to work on President's Day. There's positions and departments that have to have people working at all times. I think about gas and water, Mr. Reagan's up here in the sewer department. You have people that have to be there at all times. Those people, they receive holiday pay, that type of thing. We wouldn't want to create a messy situation with that. But just from listening to her talk and knowing that President's Day is a federal day that everybody is used to being off for, many of your banks, all your banks, your schools, a lot of your businesses are already closed that day, including the schools. It could create a situation for employees that I don't think we need to create. So I appreciate the attempt of this, but I still have to vote no on it. The Finance Committee and have to vote no on it next week.
Solomon, you want to respond?
Yeah, I would like to respond to that. It's really not that big of a deal. People work on federal holidays all the time when school's off. People have to make adjustments for their kids, and they can always just choose to work on President's Day. What this isn't for me. This is for the city employees. This is just giving them an opportunity to take a holiday off or get a paid day vacation essentially. For a day that means a lot to them. And this is for our city employees.
Any other comment or question regarding this ordinance? Councilperson McLaughlin, you recognize.
Thank you, Mayor. At the Finance Committee, I believe that the Finance Committee Chair did ask the HR Director how many employees request Good Friday off each year, and it was a minimum amount. And again, our employees have a good amount of PTO where they can take a particular day off that isn't a paid holiday.
Any other comment or question regarding this ordinance? Chairperson Street.
Ordinance, Mayor, with your permission, can I take up the next three all at once?
Any objection to the next?
Or not the next two?
The next two, yes. Without objection, go ahead.
Ordinance 03/2024-25, first reading, an ordinance accepting the donation of certain real property from Holly Point LLC to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of a sewer pump station. Ordinance 04/2024-25, first reading, an ordinance accepting the donation of certain real property from James Durrett and Mary Durrett to the city of Clarksville for the purpose of a sewer pump station. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval on both of these items.
Any comment or question regarding these two ordinances? Seeing none, Chairperson Street.
Ordinance 05/2024-25, first reading, an ordinance approving travel policy for the city of Clarksville and all of its departments and entities. The Finance Committee voted in favor of approval.
Any comment or question regarding this policy, this ordinance? Chairperson Street.
That concludes my report, Mayor.
All right, next item is Gas and Water Committee. Chairperson Holman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll report next week.
Thank you. Neighborhood and Community Services Committee Chairperson Shakina is out. He'll have a full report next week. Parks and Recreation Committee Chairperson Zacharias.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll have a full report next week.
Thank you. Neighborhood and Public Safety Committee Chairperson Red is out. Transportation, Streets and Garage Committee Chairperson Smith, you are recognized.
I have a report on the first.
All right, thank you. We're now ready for new business. Resolution 5/2024-25, resolution authorizing reapplication for zone change for property located at the intersection of Darrow Road and Copeland Road. Councilperson Allen, you are the sponsor. You're recognized.
So I had a phone conversation with Ms. Edwards the next day after. If you guys remember this one was going to see. She wanted it to go to C5. So she gave me a call, that day after we, voted it down. And this was after she spoke to Mr. Kendall and she spoke to Mr. Bittner. Now, what I'd like to bring back the zoning case, from that session, because the zoning classification, C5, was not the proper zoning classification. And after talking to Mr. Bittner and Mr. Kendall, there was definitely like a language barrier, and she did not understand the whole process. So I would like to get her another opportunity. I know that better neighborhood businesses, and I would just ask you guys to consider allowing her to bring that back under the proper zoning classification, because the purpose of that is to get it right, not to block her for a whole year, but to get it right. And she obviously did not understand. I hope you guys agree. Thank you.
Councilperson Zacharias, you recognize.
Thank you, Mayor. And as the council, representative for Ward 1, I would ask that you all please support this resolution to allow this to come back. I had the identical conversation with the applicant.
Councilperson Streetman, you recognize.
Thank you, Mayor. This is of course one we just voted on this month, for the rezoning. And for me, whether it's a C1 or whether it's a C5, it doesn't change anything for me. C1 still allows many different commercial opportunities right inside of this neighborhood. We voted down, as I mentioned just a few weeks ago, when we voted against this, we voted against the change to a commercial property on Tiny Town Road, because you have to enter through the neighborhood in order to be able to access it, because they likely weren't going to be able to get an access to Tiny Town Road. This does not change that. This would be the exact same way. You can't access it from Tiny Town Road. All the commercial property that's located there is located, the property that's beside it, it's located on Tiny Town Road. This is still changing a corner lot in a neighborhood over to be a commercial opportunity, which could be a liquor store, it can be a shoe store, it can be a convenience store, it can be a lot of different things. For me, it had nothing to do with the fact that the type of business that she wants to have there, because should she have that business there and then in a few years the ownership changes hands and they decide to have something else, there is a multitude of opportunities of commercial businesses that can go in there and putting that in the neighborhood. So it doesn't change anything for me, whether it's a C1 or a C5, and I'll be voting against the allowing this to come back forward to us before the 12-month period.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you recognize.
Thank you, Mayor. To the sponsor, has the applicant been working with the planning commission to identify what the proper zoning classification would be?
They have been working together very closely at this point. I think she understands better now. I think when she first originally did it, she did not understand. And I know that everybody has their own reasons for voting it down last week. So I just want to clearly say they are working together to find the right zoning classification.
Is O1 being considered as an option?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comment or question regarding this resolution? All right, next item is Resolution 9, 2024-25, a resolution approving the official designation of home of Perry Galbraith, a sign at exit 11, as a coming from the designations committee. Any comment or question regarding this designation? Seeing none, we're ready for item C, Resolution 10, 2024-25, a resolution approving the official designation of Pastor Raleigh A. Jones Sr. Memorial Boulevard at B Street. Any comment or question regarding this resolution? Next item is item D, Resolution 11, 2024-25, a resolution approving the official designation bearing the name of beloved community officer Otis L. Martin, civil rights leader Virginia Martin Hatcher on the corner of Poston Street and Collins Street. Any comment or question regarding this designation? All right, we're now ready for public comments. Our policy, rule, and code allows for 3 people, 5 minutes each. If you wish to speak, we allow 3 people, 5 minutes each. If there's more than 3, y'all just need to arm wrestle or something. But we I will invite the first person up. Give us your name, and you're on the clock with 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm Charles Uppelman. I live on Cumberland Drive who are here in opposition to comments made by one of the council members of the LGBT community to stand with me at this time. We are here because our community was lambasted using these microphones and the sound system, this rostrum, and the power of this chamber. All of us were called out. Many people on this council were called out. We were labeled crudely and rudely. All of you are elected as council members to represent everyone in your ward. And I'm sure a lot of you do a really good job at that. Taking calls from people if you were a private citizen, you probably would want to take calls from. So I thank you for that. But we're here because one of your members is calling all of us out. In that meeting, not only were we called out, but an event that was a fun, happy event for thousands of Clarksvillians was targeted. And we are seeing a rise in homophobic discourse across the country and in this city. And so my first call tonight is on y'all that didn't say what he said, to stand up against homophobia. And maybe that doesn't align with your politics. So let me see if it aligns with you financially. Is having one of your members calling out the LGBT community as communist, is that helpful in recruiting businesses to the city? Is it helpful in recruiting talent to Austin Peay's college athletics? Is it helpful in hiring teachers? Is it helpful in promoting peace within our city? Ask yourself, what is your role? Is it to let him do it? Is it to shush the one who stood up to it? Or is it to actually stand up to homophobia and hate? That's the first thing. The next question I have for all of the council: can you in good conscience allow one of your members to deliberately malign an employee of this city and malign her title and malign her daily work? That is not acceptable. And another thing, it's not a constitutional right. Yes, when you're out in the street, you can say whatever you want. But when you are leading a district, when you're leading a ward and helping shape the city, you have a higher responsibility. So let me ask you this, and when I ask you to consider your own role in this, should that be allowed under your rules as a city? To malign a community? Should it be under your rules to malign a staff member that reports to you and works to make this city better every day? If not, then I encourage you to change your rules and be more cognizant of the conduct of what you represent. Do you really want to be on Channel 4 every time he comes up with this rant? So, as chair of the Montgomery County Democratic Party, I call on Travis Holloman to resign his seat immediately for the failure of his leadership, for the harm done to the LGBT community, but also to all the folks that are lifted up by diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. DEI isn't just about LGBT folks. It's about Juneteenth. It's about Emancipation Day. It's about the AAPI Festival. It's about Latino heritage. Clarksville is a beautiful city because it's diverse, not despite its diversity. And that's an American concept. Has nothing to do with Russia, has nothing to do with communism. So remember that when you want to align and malign a group. The modern gay rights movement started right here in the capitalist United States of America. That's us. So I call on your resignation. I call on this chamber to expel him if he fails and continues to fail the city of Clarksville. And I call on all of you to change your rules. Because Clarksville does not need to be known for this, and your inaction will continue us being known for that. So thank you for your time.
All right, we'll have someone next. Remember, we have time and space for two more. If you would give us your name, and you have 5 minutes.
Hi. Forgive me, I'm losing my voice. My name is Anita Hart, and I'm the president of CCORD. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, city council members, and staff. Thank you for hearing me tonight. I'm sure you know what we're talking about. He targeted the LGBTQ community and our Sea Pride organization. His words weren't just opinions, he presented them as irrefutable truth. He directed the community overall not to support us, going so far to insist that we pose a threat to the people of Clarksville, ultimately stating that we are not welcome here. The rest of the city council, all of you, with the exception of one courageous member, sat in silence. This has caused the LGBTQ community to fear they are no longer having representation in a room where everyone should feel equal and know their rights are protected. Sea Pride hosted the Pride celebration to make our existence visible, to show that our LGBTQ plus community is a positive element in Clarksville and deserving of local resources and community support. We believe our contributions have made the city what it is today, and that even and the event would not have taken place if Clarksville did not agree. Who do you think paid for it? The people of Clarksville, its organizations, churches, and local businesses, along with neighboring communities, donated and even pitched in, hosting fundraisers to help us raise the money. We are a new nonprofit, and it was hard to get large corporations to take a risk on a project so big when we had so little experience. Our organization did not have a large board with lots of members. We are a nonprofit and cannot pay volunteers. So when people without hesitation made themselves available to help on the day of the event, people just joined in. It was everything. They put up tents, decorated the facility. We had members of other nonprofits running around doing actual work. They made the day possible. The people of Clarksville made the day possible. A few days after the event was the 4th of July, and I'm sure there was a sense of pride. The Declaration of Independence proclaimed that men like Mr. Hollyman are born with certain unquestionable rights. Since then, minorities have had to redefine what all men are created equal after it was first penned, and define what it meant, and fight for our government to pass laws protecting the rest of us from discrimination. Mr. Hollyman was deeply offended that we were allowed to rent the Wilma Rudolph Event Center because he does not want people like us in his community. However, I think it's perfect. It's a perfect place to hold the first Sea Pride Festival. Not long ago, Clarksville helped plan another celebration of pride. It was in the 50s, and segregation was still very much accepted as a way of life. So was sexism, so was white superiority. But this community was determined to honor a Black woman by having a celebration in her honor. Amazingly, she refused to unless everyone could attend. Back then, that simply was not done. She saw an opportunity to fight for equality and took it. Thanks to Wilma Rudolph, the woman the facility is named after, we have the very first integrated event in Clarksville history because of her. So here's where we have an opportunity. If we're going to see change, we must quit tolerating hate speech and blatant discrimination. I'm sure that during Wilma's time, there was someone on the council who disapproved, who thought it was wrong. But history shows it was the right thing to do. Where do you want history to find you? We as a community condemn this. It is dangerous, discriminatory words that actually put people's lives in danger, and he was allowed to speak them here. Let's rewrite the narrative together, please. Let this be another moment where we are on the right side of history. Mr. Hollyman, if I have to conform to how you live your life, that is not freedom.
Okay, we have room for one more speaker. You have 5 minutes. Please give us your name.
My name is Nicholas, and I am not a manly man. I enjoy musical theater, though I tried desperately to reach the high note in the song Santa Fe, which ended up with me singing in choir. Besides those experiences, however horrendous they might have been, they are only an aspect of my identity. My closest friends would care to describe me as queer, flamboyant, radically passionate about gross politics, and someone who cares and loves people. This is my identity and what makes me human. However, I wonder, why do my friends care about my personality and how I treat others, while Mr. Holloman focuses on one aspect of my identity, using such to label me as nothing more than a threat, purely based on my unchangeable sexuality or dysphoric gender identity. Despite never meeting me or knowing of my existence, I am judged and met with horrible comments regarding something I cannot change, thus making me feel less than a human. As nothing more than a prop to political charades. Your comment only incites hate, encourages and normalizes the hurling of slurs as I walk the halls of my school, perpetuating that I do not belong and am an outcast. Such actions only escalate from there. It will eventually lead to a school environment where I fear for my safety. As my mom can testify, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I would rather choose the slow but rewarding path of telling my story and educating my peers. The moment where I can best express myself and let go of societal conformity is at a Pride event. Mr. Holloman, Pride is a place where we are free to get to know others without the inclination to worry over these things. Attendees can connect with those going through similar problems, whether it be gender dysphoria or coming to a terms with one identity. The feeling of knowing another person's experience, which resembles to your own, is undoubtedly inspiring. It is a place where one's personality comes before one identity. In addition, it acts as a place to commemorate and honor those Stonewall riots and the activists who participated in the first Pride parades, which took place on June 28, 1970. As I draw near the closing, I want to share my personal experience with my orientation and gender identity. In my youth, I never had the time to experience the grandness of childhood. So, as I gradually became older, I became interested in things I never knew could fill my heart. This journey of self-fulfillment started in the 8th grade year. With the mindset of creating a legacy and expectations for those before me, I was applauded to try new things, such as joining the school choir and musical production. With this goal in mind, I set out to practice my vocals. With an amazing teacher and effort, I managed to get the lead. This lead role had me break the gender boundaries for the first time in my life. I didn't know it then, but what I had just experienced was the happiest moment of that year. Fast forward to 9th grade year was a move across the country that broke my heart through the shatters, an environment unlike anything I had ever experienced. I was finally in high school, and yet while I was momentarily surviving, the next spring would entail a series of events I was prepared for. In May, as the end of school was closed, I can attest that while my grades and social life were phenomenal, I was silently suffering. Every time I looked in the mirror, something was out of place. Months before, I had tried to keep up my appearance in a masculine way, and it started to satisfy me. Ooh. However, in the end, it failed miserably. It was only after deep reflection and pressure on myself to take action that I realized I couldn't force myself to be someone I'm not. When life kept throwing pressure of societal conformity, I rose above. I thoroughly acknowledge that I myself, when there's a pudgy dress on me, while gallivanting in a face full of glamorous makeup. Expressing that the me I pictured had gorgeous, dirty blonde locks and soft skin was not an easy task. It took hours and hours of crying and contemplating if this was true or just me being extravagant. Though I recognized those things, it was still a battle in my mind between presenting with a mask or being my true self. So today I stand here as a testament that people like me exist. That however the world may perceive us, it might not always be true to our hearts. In the end, whatever opinion you have, Mr. Holloman, I ask you to come and understand us and the different stories we have to tell. Yes. Thank you and have a good night.
Finance, Councilperson Zacharias.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to, so that's kind of a tough act to follow. If anybody's looking for something to do this weekend, out at Fort Defiance, there's going to be a wood carving demonstration by Tennessee woodworkers from 1 to 3. Summer Night Lights will be at Sherwood Forest Park in the Phoenix Renaissance Fair. That's next Tuesday. And then the final concert in the summer concert series will be at Barbara Johnson Park. That's over there on Board 1, right next to the airport. We'd love to see you out there on August 15th.
Thank you. Councilperson Allen, you recognize.
Okay, so I cannot let you three come up here without addressing what you said. It brings me to tears to think that someone on this council acted that way. I was not here that day, but next week I came and I made it right. The world we live in today, there should not be this much hate in our world. And although at times we feel like, oh, it's not hate, it's just how I feel. It's my freedom of speech. I get it. We all have freedom of speech, but this is not the place. As I said last month, this is not the place for that. The whole DEI thing in our country is ridiculous. Here we are. It means diversity, equity, and inclusion. On the 4th of July, let me tell you what happened. We were at the 4th of July event down at Wilma Rudolph Event Center. Thank you for bringing that up, Wilma Rudolph. Thank you. We were down at that event, and our sign language people back there were there signing for our community. And some deaf members of our community walked up and were so excited because they could understand everything that was happening that day. Because we had people interpreting. That is a part of DEI also. Right. So if we were to let DEI go, people with disabilities, people that are aging, people that are minorities, people that are in the LGBTQIA community, everybody that is different would no longer be able to exist.
Yeah.
So,
Hang on.
So, what I have to say is the same thing I would say before. You cannot represent your community with those type of feelings.
Right.
And truly represent everybody that you are meant to represent. And that's all I have to say.
Councilperson McLaughlin, you recognize.
Thank you. Thank you to the speakers. I was actually going to speak about something else. I want to commend the Gas and Water Department for an issue that occurred yesterday. As most people know, I work at the Clarksville Foundry, and all of a sudden there was water coming down the street, and my coworker found a geyser on the Vulcan property. And so the first thing I knew was to call Mr. Riggins to report it. Within 3 minutes, they had somebody from the Gas and Water Department coming to look at what the issue was. I think it was probably about 15 minutes later, a crew came. They tried to figure out how to shut the water off. They dug out a large amount of mud. They turned the valve off. And they worked the issue until it was done. And the reason I know this is that my desk faces the window where I saw everything that was occurring. It was inconvenience when you have a commercial property with employees that can't flush the toilet, but we survived until it was fixed. I just want to commend the Gas and Water Department for the quick response and the little bit of inconvenience. After I got off work, I did call Mr. Riggins to find out what the issue was, and it was an old cast iron pipe that had fractured in multiple places. And this morning it wasn't leaking. There wasn't water running down the street. I understand that after I left work, from my coworker that found the leak, that the Gas and Water Department was back over there after hours trying to hose the mud off of actual Red River Street. So I just wanted to commend the Gas and Water Department for their response on that. Thank you.
Thank you. We thought it was a new Parks and Recreation splash pad.
It could have been.
Councilperson Allen, Howell, you recognize.
Thank you, Mayor. So just comment on previous comments about how DEI, if it didn't exist, that I'm homosexuals wouldn't exist, disabled people wouldn't exist. I mean, they existed before diversity, equity, inclusion. Like, diversity, equity, inclusion is a new thing. And so just talking about like my presentation, I mean, I never really cared until LGBT started targeting children. Like, you know, just signed into law.
No.
Gavin Newsom just signed into law that a
He's in
teacher.
California.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's
ladies and
progression.
gentlemen, hang on just,
Show me a victim.
hang
I
on
want
just
a name.
one moment.
Give me a name.
We will
One name.
conduct ourselves appropriately, or we will clear the written. Last warning.
So,
Councilperson Holloman, please.
okay, so right now, if you have a child and it's in California schools and it tells the teacher, you know, a different gender or whatever, that teacher now is legally held to keep that silent. They are targeting children. They are doing it through legal works. Guys, wake up, like, please. And so that is my whole objective, is to protect children. That's all I'm gonna say.
Councilperson Reynolds, you're recognized.
Yes, Mayor, I believe that, that we were handed a copy of the resolution, requesting, the resignation. I'd like to see if we could all get a copy of that, please. And then I'd like to make sure that it's also put it into,
We will distribute that through the clerk's office.
thank you. And then I would like to say, last month, we talked about freedom of speech. And yes, there's freedom of speech, but there is also, you have to pay if you speak hate. It's not freedom from being responsible and consequences for what you say. And that's what this is. And I cannot add to the eloquent speeches that were here, except to say that this is what democracy looks like. This, filling this room, paying attention, and holding your elected officials at every level is what democracy looks like. And what we need now in our community is for people to go vote. We in Montgomery County have the lowest voter turnout in a state that has the lowest turnout, in a nation that has one of the lowest turnouts in the world. If you want to make a change, I need to show up at every level of government. Use your voice. It matters. Today is powerful, and really, democracy matters, and your vote matters. So please go vote. Early elections are open until Saturday, and this year and in the future, I would like to encourage people in the community to start at the bottom of your ballot and work your way up instead of going down, because local elections matter.
Councilperson Allen, you're recognized.
I'd like to apologize. I originally had something to say before the public comments. I just want to announce that I will not be running again. This is my time to go on to the house and spend some time with my grandbaby and my new house and everything like that. We do have 4 candidates so far running in my ward, and I will be endorsing one of them very, very soon, and he knows who he is. Thank you.
Councilperson Streeton, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I know the councilperson from Ward 1 mentioned some events going on this weekend. Also going on this weekend is the 4th annual Taste of Clarksville that'll be held at the Boyd Recreation Center and also East State University at noon on Saturday. There'll be a lot of great food there to try, so I would encourage the public to attend that. And also want to comment, we are here at the end of July, so I know we are getting closer and closer to the new garage being open and First Street being back open again. I know there's been a lot of different roads here lately in the downtown area that are open, closed. There's been a lot going on in our downtown area, but just ask everybody to please be patient with us as we work through making improvements to the area. And I'm so excited that we will be having that garage in place for everybody, and especially once the new Performing Arts Center is open and you already have the parking for it. So thank you to all the departments that have been involved, because it's various with the different roads that have needed stuff to be done from different utilities, street department, everything. So thank you for all your work you've been doing.
Councilperson Smith, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to share an event that everybody can come to and enjoy themselves. It doesn't matter how you identify. Everybody's welcome. As you know, the Emancipation Day celebration will take place on August the 3rd, 5 p.m., 10:30 p.m. at Dixon Park on 10th Street in Clarksville, Tennessee, of course. The theme is the spirit of freedom in the air. We will have a band called Alexandra and BWA, a comedian named Sporty T, Bert Stepples, DJ Foley, many vocalists, vendors, food, music, dance, and dance contests. I know I dance with Charles every time. I don't win dance contests though. So we have prizes, door prizes, and more. Come out and enjoy the blast of Clarksville Southern Silky Soul Flavor. And if you sing this flyer, y'all are all welcome to come out and shake the groove back. Thank you.
If you know what the groove thing is. And on that note, to read the following, from 5:30 in about 2 minutes until 7:30 this evening at the Downtown Commons, the county government will be having county connections. Come out and visit with all county departments, including the Regional Planning Commission, ask any questions, and learn a little bit more about what your county government is and is doing for you. And again, that's a couple blocks up the street. All right, that concludes our business for this evening. We are officially adjourned.
This is what democracy looks like. 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 This is what democracy looks like.